All right. Our guest is an engineer for VEX Robotics. He's a mentor on Team 148, the Robo. I'm blanking.
The Robo Cyber Blue? No, Robowranglers. Sorry, Cyber Blue's your team. I got confused for a second.
No, not my team anymore. Yeah, the Robowranglers. I apologize for that. Mr. John V Neun. We are very excited to have him.
Glad to be here.
So, with the lack of the starting size this year, and really kind of the majority of the rulebook being thrown out as it relates to the robot, a lot of teams probably thought of some really crazy, very odd sort of things. You guys decided to go in one of those directions. What was some of your decision making that kind of pushed you towards going something very unconventional, where a lot of teams may have kind of gotten scared out of it?
So, very early on in the design process this year during the build season, we talked about how we need to either decide whether we're going to focus on winning the can races on the step or whether we're focused on being a top scoring machine. Those are kind of the two main categories we had. And we figured if we focus on winning the can races, we're also going to have some scoring ability associated with that, but that wouldn't be the primary focus. Because we know that basically with the lack of defense, this entire game comes down to an execution event. We were expecting that top teams would be trying to set their bar as high as they possibly can and just barely jump to reach and grab it. Everybody's trying to set their performance level to a point where they really stretch the resources to the maximum. You don't want to oversell yourself and then fall short and not complete a robot. You don't want to undersell your performance and then end up outgunned. One of the phrases we said a lot during this year is don't bring a knife to a gunfight. And so our big focus was like, okay, we need to build the biggest gun we possibly can if we want to be a top scoring robot. So everything came down to scoring efficiency. Like, how do we score the most points possible in the most efficient amount of time? And the best way we came up to do that was we're going to do two things at once. We're going to separate the stacking from the scoring. It's going to help smooth out the entire game without having to be out there frantically moving around trying to do things quickly and make the overall machine higher scoring because of it.
That's kind of a different arms race, if you will, just building a bigger gun.
Yeah.
So I think there were a few teams that built multi-stage robots like yours for this game. We've got a couple of them here. But yours, I guess, had the most success. It was the one that was on Einstein. Why do you think that is? What led you to that success?
Well, I mean, the reason we were on Einstein is very simple. We were partnered with 1114, and those guys are just fantastic. So as far as the success of the robot, I don't necessarily think we were the most successful. There are a lot of really great solutions out there. Some of them, 1296 was just down the road from us. 4357 with Ratman and Bobbin down in Texas. They're another great team. There are a lot of really successful multi-robots out there. I think the reason why ours was successful at all is just because of the continuous iteration of the Robowranglers preach as our kind of mentality. We're always looking to improve. It's all about continuous improvement. This was really a hard 16-week season. We really went all in from the minute of kickoff straight through until championship was over. And that constant tweaking and that constant re-engineering definitely showed in the final result.
Can you kind of talk to some of the changes that you made from, say, your first competition through to the championship? Like, how intense is the level of change? Total subsystems, some parts here or there?
This year it was total subsystem. In Dallas at the first event, we actually had a third robot, Alfred, which was designed to an autonomous mode, pull the cans over and get him out of Batman's way. There were some difficulties in setting it up. It was a little bit slow, and the referees in Dallas did rule that our string was a field hazard and illegal. So just to simplify, we kind of went back to the drawing board and said, if we take the 20 pounds that we had in the subsystem, put into other stuff, can we accomplish the same goal? Absolutely. So we looked at 987 for inspiration, put an arm on the back, and we came up with that multi-armed kind of pick up two cans auton that we brought to the championship.
Very cool.
So last year, VEX took a little different approach to the robot in 3 days and build blitz, and didn't focus so much on building a robot, but more guiding teams through the process, helping teams consider different strategies, really think about the game like the teams at a high level do. What feedback have you received about that change, and do you think it's something you'll continue to do?
Well, I mean, we consider ourselves an education company, so we thought there was a good opportunity for us to spend that first week really focusing on producing high-quality educational resources for teams. Instead of just showing them an example gripper, we're going to say, here's a guide with some principles that you can use to help you design your gripper kind of thing. So that was our focus for Build Blitz this year. The feedback was mixed. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, liked having these resources. They didn't like that it took so long, like the fact that a lot of this stuff wasn't ready until the end of the first week. Teams were already moving past their need for it. Well, maybe there were some teams that should have been looking at it, but were already way ahead of themselves on other things. So at the same time, we did receive positive feedback on the content we put out. The timing was a little slow. People liking the 3-day stuff. Basically you have a whole robot to look at for inspiration right off the bat. So I'm not sure about the future. We haven't sat down and talked about what our plans for 2016 are, but you can bet we're going to be considering what we're going to do, what we're going to change, and what's the best way we can serve the community.
Do you think that part of the reason that you felt comfortable going in that direction was that you knew that there would be other groups building the 3-day robots, and you could kind of show an alternative while still leaving that first option available for the teams that want it?
That honestly didn't really come into our decision making, but I mean, certainly there was a lot of cool stuff that came out of the RA 3D groups as well. Really, we just kind of looked at what we thought we could do as a company to best serve the community based on our resources and availability.
Great. So we've got our alliances here up on our screen. Our last question for you: if you could give us a prediction, you see their first match scores. Who do you think's moving on into the finals? Which alliances?
That's tough. I mean, I really like that 118 alliance. Obviously, I'm big fans of my friends from Team Texas. 118, always great friends of ours. Wave, strong competitor. The 2056 alliance also doing a great job out there. So I guess if I had to pick, I'm going to go with alliances 2 and 3.
Okay, well, John, thank you so much, the Robowranglers mentor and VEX Robotics employee engineer. Thank you so much for being here. Let's throw it back down to Tyler.